There's no doubt in my mind that my spoiledness and because I'm spoiled, I've become soft in many ways. There are definitely some things that I feel I shouldn't have to put up with anymore. Oh, looks like, hold on. Forget where I left off, but just had a crazy call today. What is usually a routine call, a password lockout, turned into something just crazy on the phone for an hour. Couldn't get it resolved. Escalated it urgent. Talked to my level 2, very smart dude, saying there's nothing you can do. The computer's off the network, blah, 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 blah. Then I get a call later back from the user saying it's working now. And then between that, I had to reach out to the user's boss or whatever and relay information back and forth. I tried everything. We went up, left, down. And I really didn't feel like doing it today. And I was just sitting here fantasizing just how much and how deeply I just don't want to do it today, thinking, I don't care what you do. You can fire me. I'll sleep on a bridge for the rest of my life, as long as I ain't got to work right now today. I mean, it's just that deep. And it's to the point where I'm like, I don't know how long I can do this. But then it'll get better. You know, I get a call from the user who I talked to before, very pleasant, you know, and we was on for an hour. She hung in there too. She hung in there. You know, it didn't kind of started to get a little bit irritated. And, when we got towards the end of that hour, because she was on doing the same thing yesterday for an hour, just trying to get her account synced up and get her back on the domain and VPN and blah, 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 change her password. Then I was able to log in as her. So that means the account was working and this and that. And it was just a bunch of stuff. We were on the phone for an hour. Now she just replied back saying, yeah. Now she calling me. I'm going to talk to her I'm going to talk to her. Yeah, really pleasant lady, from New York. Very pleasant. Understood, called me back, let me know what's going on, and just, how this is just something that shouldn't be happening. We haven't figured, there's things in Texas, technology is a science, but it's just still crazy. Maybe New York Tech did something to get it back on the network, because she did talk to New York Tech. Maybe New York Tech did something to get back on the network, because that computer should not be back on the network. Basically, that's what I'm saying. That computer should not be back on the network. For whatever reason, so, and it is, and I was like, I don't want to do this. I was like, you can fire me. I don't want to do this no more. I'm just done. You can reach a point, and plus I'm sick a lot of that because I'm spoiled. I'm not used to doing things I don't want to do. I'm soft. I'm used to having pretty much have everything easy. It is not that this is hard. Not that this job is this or this job is that or it's difficult. I just don't feel like doing it no more. I'm spoiled, and I don't do what I don't want to do. And I know a large part of that could get me in trouble, even though I haven't been in trouble in a very long time. Thinking that way could get me in trouble. Because I'll tell you, kiss my ass in a minute. And that hasn't come back to bite me in a very, 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 tough way in a long time. If ever. I don't want to say if ever, I'm sure it has. But where I make a rational, emotional decision based on how I feel right this moment, I say, I'm out of here. Well, I have walked out a couple of jobs before, but it really didn't come back and bite me too hard, So, and right now, I'm just like, and there could be some things in my life that I can change, like the damn black and miles. I probably could stop smoking them. I got something on the back of my head. Just little things I could do to probably improve my overall feeling. Sometimes I feel really good. Sometimes I just feel really good. And I don't want to keep still being, popping those Excedrin, those CVS knockoff Excedrins with that caffeine in it every day to knock this little headache thing I get off and my sinuses. And, I'm still walking pretty good during, not like going 30 days in a row anymore, but, I'm still walking most of the time, at least, 5-6 times a week. And That's 5, 6 times a week, getting 5 miles before, in the morning. 5 miles walk. If I walk 5 miles, I'll say 10,000 steps. 10,000 steps. And it I know, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I turned 65. I don't even know if I can. I'm like so spoiled. I'm like, forget it. I don't care what happens. I just don't want to do. As long as I don't got to do this, I don't care what happens. In my mind, that's what I'm thinking. I don't care what happens to me. I don't care if I die tomorrow. As long as I ain't got to do this, just how bad I feel in that moment. Bad. That's how hard and tough it feels in that moment at that time. That I just don't want to do this. I'll give anything not to do this, not to have to do this. And then on top of that, if I don't do it, I turn around and end up getting too lazy and be in bed and eating too much and feeling like bullshit from that. So, like I said, when I do call off, it's usually to hibernate and just cut everything off and just go out. Usually when I call off and I don't take work out, I ain't gonna call off to go party or, I'm gonna call off and go to the LA County Museum of Art. That's what I was trying to remember. That used to be my go-to spot, LA County Museum of Art. Go down there or just chill or, go to Venice Beach or something like that. No, when I call off, I don't do nothing. I'm like down for the count, quote unquote, down for the count. And I don't want to do that either, be too lazy doing that. But when I took that last Wednesday off, it felt so good. It broke the week up. Having that day off, I felt like I needed it because I didn't really do much. I stayed low, laid in the bed, just rested, it seemed like. And then, the next 2 days was easy. Then I got 2 more days off. So, yeah, it's a lot of time off. I mean, just to be honest with you, that's a lot of time, quote unquote, maybe not doing nothing, And I'm soft. And then when I do, the things I do get motivated to do, working on my Jeffery TV stuff, looking at music, doing this and that. There are some stuff that I do get motivated to do. There are definitely some things that I do get motivated to do. And it's not as long-lived maybe as it should be. It's not, I don't think it's enough enthusiasm or motivation to where if I was to retire, it would get me up out of bed to work on. And so I'm concerned about that, retiring and just being lethargic and just unmotivated and like, eating too much, put the weight back on, et cetera, et cetera. But so I was just on the phone with a New York user, like real cool. I had talked to her before. I remember when she kind of first started, I had interactions with her. She was real cool, real cool. So it wasn't really a quote unquote bad situation, that could have escalated into something. And then I find out, I talked to one of the dudes I feel is one of the smartest. Well, smart, yeah, I think definitely one of the smartest because he studies and he's on top of it. He just stays on top of things. He just go past his desk that he remembers. Real cool dude. Knowledgeable is the word. And he said, yeah, the computer fell off the network. The computer fell off the network. You did everything to get her account going, but the computer's off the network and it has to go back in and get put back on the Ethernet. I was like, but she says, even though she was off for 2 weeks, it worked yesterday. It worked a day and a half. So that means it was connected to the network and working. So that means the computer established contact with the server. So it shouldn't have been, shouldn't have timed out. It should have been disabled. And he said he had that same problem. Next thing you know, he said, all right, okay, cool. I'm talking to him like that. He even called me. I ain't talked to him in months because he moved away. Blah blah. He used to be my buddy when I first started. And that was 10 years ago, almost like 8, 9, 10 years ago. And so he was like, yeah, it shouldn't be on network. And I heard of that before, because I talked to the local tech, and the local tech said, yeah, you got to bring it in. We got to do this. We got to do that. So, I remember that. I remember that part. And then that's what we thought. And then next thing she called back, well, everything's working now. Maybe New York Tech did something. In fact, I might reach back to New York Tech on that ticket and take a look to see if they knew a trick to where they can actually turn up, where they can actually get the computer back on the network without having to go in or something like that. But without having the computer actually be physically on the network. So it's something. But again, I don't know how long I can do this. And it's gonna come a point where if I keep going, it feels like it's gonna come a point where I just won't be able to do it. I'm done. I can't. My bad. I feel bad I didn't, let you know about this earlier. I feel bad I didn't let you know to leave you in this spot, but I just can't do this no more. I can't do no more. Remember Barry Sobel? White dude on the black comedy thing years ago. I can't do no more. He was funny. He was good. Yeah, so how are we gonna do this? I'm just gonna kill that. I'm tired. Yeah, then I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna have to find out though. Decisions gonna have to be made, and I guess again, we don't talk about this enough. 65 is when I get Medicare. It's probably the soonest I can get out. As soon as you get that Medicare, that's you need medical coverage, and that it's probably going to be the soonest that I can. That's probably the soonest I can retire. So yeah, it's 65, and I'm like, I don't even know if I can last a year. Be a year and 7 months now. Year and 7 months, I'll be 65. And I can retire. The stock market stays the way it's doing. And I checked every day. There's some things I'm putting together. Stock market keeps doing what it's doing. I can afford to retire 65 early. Ooh, not a good day today. Not a good day today. Not a good day today. But, my financial advisor says, as long as I can stand the volatility, you're okay. Because you're going to make a lot of money or lose a lot of money. And a lot of people can't stand the volatility, but if you can, you're good. Because you'll get a $15,000, $16,000, $17,000 swing a day in either direction. Mostly down, unfortunately. So, I woke up, ate. I sat in my recliner while I was eating and kind of let my body settle down. Maybe I should stop doing that. That's when it really I would give anything not to have to work today. I would give anything just to be able to lay down in the bed. And then I think about laying down in the bed and doing what? Oh my God, that's just like, But something's got to give, and this is the way that I learn and recognize that this needs to be addressed. It needs to be addressed because I can't keep looking away. This needs to be addressed, and this is my way of addressing it by bringing it to the forefront. Going at it head on. No disrespect to the company, best job I ever had, coworkers, everything, job, even the people calling in, basically. I would have to say, even the people calling in, the users, they're not so bad anymore. So it's really not. It's me. It's just plain and simply me. No way around it. No other way around it. It's me. It's on me. And I have to figure it out. And it could just become a time where I don't want to do it no more. It's out of my, it may get to a point where it's like out of my jurisdiction, out of my hands, to where my body says, nope. My body and mind say, nope. And no matter how hard I try, whereas some people who have been in a situation, more dire situation. I got a family dependent on them. They got to feed kids. Got to say, if you don't work, you don't eat. If you don't work, you don't got nowhere to live. Blah 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 blah. Blah. You just got to do it. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. There is no, you don't have no choice in this matter. You just don't have a choice. You got to do it. And I've been very hard pressed to accept anything like that. I have been very, very hard pressed to accept anything like that in my life. I've always, I guess you could say, consider myself above what a lot of people feel that, they have to do or need to do, or the jurisdiction of my life, or what I'm supposed to do or not do. I always felt myself above that. So it's getting tough. It's getting tougher and tougher. And then as the day goes on, I feel better. You can probably tell by my voice and the way I'm talking. I'm feeling a little bit better. Not that you was able to hear or feel what I was feeling before, but you can imagine. You can imagine the demeanor, the energy that I'm putting out or not putting out. And it's just, and maybe I want to whine a little bit. I'm not probably whining, I'm just evaluating it. And this talking like this actually helps me to get through it and understand it. And to kind of, talk it out. It makes me feel better. And of course, I love creating content. Let's just say that. I love creating content. I love, recording this, putting it on my platforms, or Facebook and YouTube, I guess. And, I enjoy that. That gives me energy. That gives me motivation. That's something that I want to do. Because, to be honest and to be fair, I'm doing my job at a certain level because I get a performance review every week. So I'm doing my job at a certain level, that should keep me in there, but my heart ain't in it. My heart is, and I hate to say that because I love this company. Best job, I've said that many times. And let alone the compensation. Oh my God, the compensation. But it's like, you know what? Not F the compensation, but, compensation, I can't. And then like I said, I'm spoiled, and I know I'm spoiled, and I know I'm like, I ain't got to do nothing. I ain't got to do nothing. I know that it's just, a part of me, and that could come back and bite me if I, get out of a situation that I should stay in. And then for unforeseen reasons, I do this, I do that. Then all of a sudden, it comes back and bites you. Boom, look what you did. Now look what you did. Now look what you did. Now what you going to do? I guess worst case scenario, you just go get your job back. go back to the same job and get my job back. I think that my record is still intact. I think that my work, history is still, they'd hire me back, I think. Or if I can go, working for the second largest law firm in the world, I could probably go anywhere and get a help desk IT job. Oh, you worked there? Yes, I did. And I was very successful while I was there. And I was very accomplished. And everybody tell you that they like me. I got a good personality. I'm a hard worker, blah, 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 blah. So going out there and actually getting a job, may not be a problem. And then maybe having a year or so off helps me out. Maybe having that year or that time off, it definitely having those 3 months off helped. That's for sure. After I got my traction, once I got my feet under on the ground, and you know what they did? They changed the default sort. So now we sort first name, last name. Before you would always just start typing their last name. Now things are being sorted by the first name. I guess some said about that's the worldwide default, the norm. The rest of the country or the rest of the world is going to where, it'd be Jeffrey Mitchell. You start, instead of typing Mitchell, M-I-T-C-H, because we usually sort by the last name, start typing their first name. And that's just a change, it's just a change. And then another thing, you get to the point where you're like, I'm sick of these changes. I'm too old. I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn. I'm out of here. And just, okay, I got to do this to make that work. Is this how we do this now? And I don't want to do that. You get to a point where you get to the age, you get a certain age, you get to an age, and you're like, I don't want to do that. What the heck? Oh, boy. Oh, never mind. I read that wrong. I was right. I got it done right. So it's just, it feels good to get this off my chest. It feels good to get this off my chest and to talk it out and, kill some time. And then you start doing the job and you're like, I don't give a damn. I just don't give a damn. And I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't think the company deserves that. And I know if I get to that point where I truly, truly, truly don't give a damn, I'll step away. Call it integrity. I don't know integrity, just the way I am, respectful. Because I'm not going to lie. They ask you, what did you do? And I say, I ain't feel like working, so I didn't do it. I'm not going to lie. And I still want to be honorable and respectful to the position because they've been good to me. And I can't fake it. It'd be too hard for me to fake it. And I think that's the large part of it. It's too hard for me to fake it. There's things I know I can do to make the day a lot easier, make the day go by differently, or, however you want to put it, you know what I mean? But, and it's probably a little bit of cheating. Like I said, I'll cheat, but I won't lie. And it gets to a point where, you're doing your job, but I ain't feel like doing it. I feel a little better though. Maybe it's the caffeine in the pills. Maybe it's the headache medicine. I don't know. Maybe I just it takes me a while to wake up now. I don't know. But I do feel much, quote unquote, better, whatever that means. I do feel better, whatever that means. And so now I'm here, I'll get through the day and I'll be like, and I'll even look back, remember so-and-so o'clock, I was ready to quit and just do everything. Now look at me, and I'm getting tired of that. Yeah, I'm getting tired of that. Because if it happens, the way I do it, if it happens too many times, that's a message. You say, hey, how many times you going to go through this, man? How many times you going to put yourself through this? It's done. It's over with, It's done. It's over with. We've been through this too many times. Let it go. It's time to make a move. It's time to make an adjustment, so that we ain't going through this. And there's definitely a level of integrity about, how I do work and my work that I want to maintain, regardless of how, even though I don't care, quote unquote, care about it, so. What the heck? So that's where I'm at. I'm just, I'm okay. I'm in good shape. Face it, I'm in good shape. I'm doing what I need to do. I'm feeling good for the most part. I'm not in peril. I'm not, in any pain. I just only want to do what I want to do, and I just want to do only what I want to do. I don't want to do nothing else. And I feel like I'm getting at the age, and I'm looking at this and I'm looking at that. I don't got to put up with it no more. Because I'm just like, the only thing I want to do is not do this. Oh my God. And it passes. It passes, and I feel quote unquote better. So, blah, blah.